Welcome, everybody. You may have heard that in a new three-way Reuters Ipsos poll, Kamala Harris is leading Donald Trump by 4 points. An extraordinary polling result. Now, I'm not going to pretend that the average of polls has it as Kamala +4. I'm not going to pretend that we have even close to all of the information we need to say that Kamala Harris is leading this race. It's extraordinarily early. But as far as data points go, this is a very interesting data point. It seems to have sent MAGA into a tailspin. It has focused Republican energy on Kamala's only there because she's not white. They call it a DEI hire. We're going to get to that in a moment. But let's discuss the new polling data, what it tells us and what it doesn't tell us. So let's start with the headline. The headline that's been floating around is Harris leading by 2. For example, Reuters reporting on its own Reuters Ipsos poll, exclusive, Harris leads Trump 44-42 in the U.S. presidential race. Now, that's true. In head-to-head, Kamala Harris leads by 2. However, when you dive into the details of the poll, you find that when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is included in a three-way poll, she is actually leading by 4, which is an even better result. Now, there are 2 ways in which this Reuters Ipsos result is important. It's important, number 1, because it already looks better for Kamala Harris than it did for Joe Biden. So the big question has been, what happens if you replace Joe Biden at this relatively late stage in the election, albeit still before he officially becomes the nominee at the DNC? We're starting to get an answer to that question. And it seems that the answer is it's fine as long as you pick the right person. Delegates have said, we like what Kamala Harris said to us. We plan to support Kamala Harris. She's now the presumptive nominee. And so far, the polling is pretty okay. That's number 1. Number 2 is the question of at what point will news about the race settle to give us a realistic picture. And here's what I mean by that. It's believed. And, all of these, it's believed. The conventional wisdom is you always have to take these things with a grain of salt, particularly as American politics evolves and as we have a completely unprecedented situation. But it is believed that in the week after your convention, you're going to have the best numbers, period. And we're in the week since Donald Trump had his convention and officially accepted the nomination. So part of this could be that the numbers right now are being modulated by Trump being at his peak and that he's going to collapse over the forthcoming month. That's a possibility, not a guarantee. On the other hand, you have those saying this is Kamala's peak. This is Kamala's honeymoon. She just got the fanfare. She just got all of the donations. This is Kamala's peak. And the fact that she's still losing in an average of polls tells us that this is going nowhere. I think none of these analyses are particularly insightful, again, because we have an unprecedented situation. But one aspect of this is that the Reuters Ipsos poll specifically is one that Donald Trump has been leading in every single time it's been done for more than a month. And as we see the Newsweek headline here, Donald Trump's losing election poll for first time in over a month. This is the first time in more than a month that in the Reuters Ipsos poll, Donald Trump has not been leading. Now, as I already said, we do want to look at an average of polling. And when you look at the average, the numbers are much more sober and what we have been seeing. So you may recall that after Joe Biden's poor debate performance, Donald Trump's lead over Biden swelled like a pesky mosquito bite to 3.3. It peaked at 3.3 and then it declined a little bit. Now, in an average of general election polling between Trump and Harris, bearing in mind that many of these polls were done when she was not the presumptive nominee, and I can't stress this enough. For example, if you look at the Emerson poll that has Trump leading Harris by 6, this was from July 7 and 8. Harris was not the nominee or the presumptive nominee at that point. It was a completely speculative. If it were to be Trump versus Harris, who would you support? Most of these polls, other than the most recent 2, are pre-Joe Biden saying I'm stepping aside. But let's accept that and still say, okay, but let's look at them anyway, understanding that it may change. Trump's lead over Kamala Harris on average is 1.6. So it is about half of what it was when it was still Trump versus Biden. That's a very good sign. And then in terms of the question of when will the polling averages reflect post-Biden stepping aside polling, well, Tom Bevan from Real Clear Politics says expect a clearer picture of Harris v. Trump by early next week, which seems completely reasonable. My guess is that it will be even closer to a bullseye tie, 0 points separating the two candidates by Monday. That's simply my prediction. Also relevant to mention is that while Joe Biden announced that he's stepping aside via Twitter over the weekend and via a letter that he wrote, he previewed that he would be speaking to the nation sometime this week. That's going to be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I will be live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And I invite you to join me. We will be taking super chats and hearing from people. What are your thoughts about what's going on? We will hear from folks before Biden speaks tonight, formally saying I will not be seeking re-election, and we will also hear from people in the audience after Biden speaks. This is scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific, so it should not be a late night, and I hope that you will join me. I've been tracking my family tree for a long time now, and the service I've always relied on is MyHeritage, which I started using long before they became a sponsor. Trusted by over 90 million users, MyHeritage makes it easy and fun to build your family tree with a range of powerful genealogy tools at your fingertips. One of my favorite features lets you quickly find new family members and add entire new branches to your tree. It's always a good time to sit down with my family, show them what I found. For example, the other day, I found a scan of an immigration document from when my mother's uncle's aunt arrived at Ellis Island, or this document from the U.S.-Canada border for my relative who was born in 1895. This is remarkable stuff and really interesting artifacts that are part of the puzzle of my family's past. MyHeritage gives you access to over 19 billion records like this, making it easier than ever for you to uncover amazing new pieces of your family's history. You can try MyHeritage completely free for 14 days when you go to davidpakman.com/myheritage. The link is in the description.